Welcome to the channel where all you got to do is scan this Mustang. So I got this thing up on the rotisserie, I don't know, a few days ago. And before I send it out to get sandblasted, I'm going to do a 3D scan of it. I think it's going to be easier to scan it while it's yucky. And this looks like dirt, but it's actually undercoating. So that gives a nice texture for the 3D scanner to pick up on like idiosyncrasies, little bumpies and stuff like that. So that'll actually make it easier than after I sandblast it, which is nice. So I got my Einstar Shining 3D scanner, which I haven't really used much, just to try and test it out a little bit. That's all I've done. So let me kind of get into what I've got going on here. So I got some tension cords running hell and half of Georgia around, and that's because I have lots of plugs in the walls here, but they're on all the outside edges. There's no drops that I can really utilize. So there's this one, but it's kind of crappy. So I got this set up so I can roll this cart around and I can reach all the way to the front and all the way to the back with the same setup. I can just move essentially my toolbox around and scan everything. I tried to scan this a few days ago and it did really good. I had the entire undercarriage, all of the back, the side of the fenders, the inside, floor, and then my computer said, oh, you're out of memory, and then it saved the file, but it won't open it back up now because it doesn't have enough memory. So I've ordered more memory, but this time I'm going to scan just this half of the car, and then I'll stitch those together in post, right? I'll just scan one side, scan the other side, because they're not exactly the same. There's some differences. Probably don't need to know or care about the differences. It's mostly in the interior, but that's my plan. So let's get into this, how this Einstar software works. Move out of my way. Basically, you just click on that. And it opens up. And I will see you on the other side without a camera in my hand. Okay, welcome to the other side. This thing does take a little bit of time to load. Not sure what it's doing, but it does take a good 5 or 10 seconds to load up. And you'll be presented with a screen here. You can either open a new project or an old project. So it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to open a new project here. Give it a new name because I already have a body scan 1. So I'll make this body scan 2, I guess. And then it'll pop up a menu here. So this menu is going to give you some opportunities to change some settings. Not super important, but kind of important. So you can change the basically how aggressive you want to be on how accurate it is, right? You can just drag this thing over. Actually, you just click on it. You click where you want. So I had it at 2 millimeters resolution before, so I'm just going to keep that there. You can also change some of this other stuff. Apply. And then it takes a couple seconds to figure out what it's doing. So this is your main menu here. It's got some pretty obvious stuff. That button there, you can do a preview. It's sitting on the table now, so the preview is saying, fuck you, you're too close. There, I can aim it at stuff. And this isn't taking any data. So it's just this is the preview. So, okay, yep, that looks like it's working. There's enough light. There's enough contrast between the parts. Cool. You gave me your face, whatever. So if you push that button again, have the camera or have the scanner next to the part you want. Otherwise, it will scan the table that it was sitting on, for instance. And then when you go to the part you really want to scan, it's going to have a hard time tracking. So you kind of got to use two hands, one to hold the unit close to what you want to scan, and the other one to push the start scanning button. You only have to do that once, though. So the white area here, that's the area that it's looking at. That's the field of view of the camera. And then anything that's green means happy days. It's good. And everything that's yellow or orange is like, I kind of know where it is, but not really. So you just have to kind of wave it around a little bit and until everything is green. Unfortunately, it's easier said than done because, as you can see, when it turns purple, that means it lost tracking. Sometimes it regains tracking, but usually you have to go back to a place that you have a lot of green, where there's a lot of information, little nooks and crannies. Like the bottom of this seat pan is pretty good. But you have to, once you start going around corners and doing weird stuff, you have to keep going back there because it loses where it's at, like that. The other piece of information that I deduced from just using this thing, how the algorithm works, is it's looking at the data that you're scanning, but it's also looking at the position of the handheld. So there's accelerometers in the handheld thingy, and when you traverse it, it can barely tell that you're doing anything. But if you tilt it or rotate it, it's much more in tune with what you're doing. And it seems to work better if you rotate things. So sometimes when you get to an area and you try to move it linearly to get a bigger area, it loses tracking a lot. But if you rotate it, it can pick up that rotation easier. And then you can get enough area that it understands, and then you can traverse it over there and then do the same thing. So you kind of like jiggle it around a bit, pan, I guess, and then it gets enough information, then you can just move over there and it doesn't lose tracking, and then you pan again. It does get a little bit harder, and you can see when I'm kind of changing the angle of it because the whole car moves relative to the thing, right? It doesn't if you just traverse it. It does get a little bit challenging when you start going around corners, though, because it doesn't have any information to pick up on, right? So you have to make very slow and steady, kind of calibrated movements, and you got to watch the screen at the same time, and you have to make sure you don't bonk into anything. So I just paused it just to see what I have. And you can do this, and it kind of saves it when you pause it. It takes a little time and saves the data file, and then you can go through and clean things up, or just kind of see what you have. Wiggle it around with the mouse instead of using the. Yeah, I got big holes in here, so I need to go back and fill those in. But it does a pretty good job, pretty quick. That was only a few minutes of scanning, and I got kind of the whole underside of the floor pan. So again, the resolution is not great. It's only 2 millimeters, but that's plenty good for what I need. So yeah, just you got to kind of look over your shoulder and walk around and not bump into anything. And I don't know, after 20-30 minutes, you got a pretty good idea of what the bottom of the car looks like because you're interactively working with it. Okay, well, I'm going to call that one done. I can't get too much farther forward without losing my mind here. And then we'll do some post-processing. See where we're at. So this is what we ended up with. Looks pretty good. It's got some holidays here and there, but as expected. It's also got some of this little fuzzy stuff here and there that's just leftover kind of junk. But the software has a way to clean that up. It's got these little features down here, a little rectangle, and a lasso, and a polygon. So if you hold the shift key down, pick which one of those you want, hold the shift key down, and then push delete, and it'll get those out of there. You have to kind of put it on the right angle, so you don't delete any of the features that you want, right? I find the square one works pretty good, so I usually use that one, but they all have their purpose, I suppose. Just gotta do more panning and changing the angle to use the square one so you don't delete anything good. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of little, and the reason you want to get rid of these is once you do them, when you convert this to a step file, it'll try to connect all those and make balloon dogs and stuff. So you want to get rid of as much of those. Plus, it makes it a little bit lighter, and so it's just best to go through and take a couple minutes and kind of clean it up. Yeah, there's some big old blobbies in there. So we'll get this again. Push the shift button to activate this. So when you're done with all that, you have to put this little check mark here to save those changes. So because I wasn't able to finish that one completely, I decided to pull another piece of the puzzle out. This is the transmission that's going to go behind the V10. So I just wanted to get a kind of proximity of the transmission so I can make sure it fits into the body. So this took, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. And this spot didn't actually get a very good scan of it, so it just merges those things together, kind of fills it in with cellulite. So, but there's not much you can do about it. You can't really rotate the yoke, and then it would have two yokes in there, right? So it is what it is. You can fix that in post. But you can see it's pretty good resolution. You can read ZF on the side of it, and you can see all the brackets and bolts and stuff like that. So to make sure it's not going to crash into a cross member or whatever, break lines, it's plenty good. So as you can see, it's a pretty big file, and that's an ASC file, which you can't do anything with unless you use some converter. But this software will convert it. You just have to go through the motions. So I'll go through that a little bit. If you're happy with everything, just push this confirm button, and then it brings back the main menu, and you can save it. The save button does something different now. Before it saved it as an ASC file, and now it gives you the option of saving it as a STL file, which you can open up in a CAD program or 3D print or whatever. So here's the save button, and then if you want to change the scale, you can, but you shouldn't need to unless you got some weird things going on, making patterns or something. So, and pop it open, and you can see it's still a big file. There's an SD file in there now, so that should be openable in CAD, and that's a different video, but I would like to have done this with the car body file, but I didn't have enough memory to save it, so until I get more memory, we're going to have to be happy with this transmission, which looks pretty sweet to me. Thanks for watching. If you like this content and want more, subscribe, like, and share.